I might have had that further down, but movement is really, really good. Moving physically is important in releasing emotions. And then be gentle when you're feeling a negative emotion or when you're processing some stuff. Just go through very gentle with your body. You can also, running and throwing rocks and anything that can lift and move stuff away. It's a great way. I mean, I'm sure many people have heard a therapist where they say, go to the thrift store and get dishes and shatter them, break them. I'm not really a pro for that because it's a mess and it's something you have to clean up. You can throw rocks or bricks or something. So it's your personal choice. It's what your mentees might like. Sometimes somebody wants to break things. That's just not what I encourage for my clients unless it's something that they'd like to do. But that's still an opportunity. And then I want to stress the importance of essential oils. Obviously, I'm going to do the caveat therapeutic grade. Make sure that they're the highest quality essential oils. Like even before we started tonight, we used wild orange and frankincense and peppermint and did a nice inhale and rubbed it all over our shoulders so that we're alert and we're clear and we're fully present for you. So that's something that we used. But what other suggestions are copaiba, wild orange and frankincense, like I said, geranium and lavender, peppermint. Any of those are going to be great. There's a huge inventory of essential oils, and they all have different emotional components, and there's some really great books written about that if you want to look into that as well. And I think
So the question and answer, I'm going to unmute everybody, and if you've got questions, please give us a question. That was a lot of information. Thank you, Vicki. Okay, let's see. They're unmuted.
Have you ever tried the emotional freedom technique? Are you familiar with that? That's something that's just very good. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of techniques that are out there that are really wonderful. And yes, if you're familiar with it, use it for sure. But yeah, EFT, you're talking about tapping, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, in my book, there's a whole section about tapping. In fact, on my website, vickiwerner.com, any of you can click on that, and I have a tapping script that is really great. So that's one of the ones I think we'll send to you all. But there's a script, and it's also an outline with tapping. But yeah, I'm a huge proponent, advocate for tapping. I think it's really wonderful. For those of you who are not familiar, it uses the various meridian points, and they all have it that are used in Chinese medicine. It calms the system down, and so we use it quite a bit.
Yeah, tapping is really a good way to release stuff, and so use it when you can. Does everybody understand what release, a technique to release things mean? Does everybody understand that? Go ahead, what did you say?
I said Vicki gave a very good example.
Yes, yeah, that's why I wanted her to give this. She's just an expert in this area. Thank you, Jane.
One thing I'd like to add with the emotional release is there's two elements to bring it to that the emotional components. And it's one of the things that I would encourage you to do and practice on your own as well, so that you can bring it in and integrate it with your clients, is when there's an emotional release, sometimes it's not always, you're going to have to play with it, but sometimes and quite often, it's really important to do some level of empowerment after that. When there's a release, there could be a sense of heaviness. Quite often when there's emotional release, they may notice themselves feeling fatigue. They may notice that just lethargic, because there was, it's a processing of emotions. And so as far as empowerment techniques on the other end of that, dancing and singing is really good. Happy music, we can include that with the ones that we're going to email to you. But any exercise, most of these techniques can also be used as an empowerment technique. So one is obviously to let go, and then one is to build up, to enhance. And so visualization and declarations and affirmations and doing the decrees, any of those things are really great for empowerment. But it's not always necessary. Sometimes people just need to let go of what's going on. And one thing that I watch quite often is when there's a lot of pressure. This pressure is usually self-regulated. It's internalized. We wake up in the morning with text messages. We wake up and answer our emails. Within our first hour, 89% of smartphone users are engaged in social media or engaged in activities that we are answering other people's problems or other people's needs. And so that can weigh us down, and so we get too much mental clutter, and a lot of emotions can get static in us. And so that's when there's a heaviness or a sense of burden and not moving forward. It's not the task that's necessarily the problem, and it's not the ability to see where your goal is. It's your emotions about the experience that usually is the most limiting.
Yeah, and when you do these emotional release techniques, ask your client, ask your mentee, are you able to see your goal now? And a lot of them will say yes if they actually release those things. So just know they'll be able to move forward easier, but ask them, how are you feeling about your goal now? Can you see reaching it? And if they can't, encourage them to do more releasing.
And if there's a lack of clarity in seeing their goal, then I always encourage a few things. One is pull back. If there isn't a clarity, it means that it's too far out. So if their goal is a year out or 6 months out, maybe bring it back 3 months. And there's clients that I have, sometimes their goal is this week. That's as far as they can go. I've had a client where maybe the next 2 or 3 days is the limit of what they can see. They're feeling a lot of heaviness, emotions. So don't force those goals to be so far out. So pull back until there's more clarity. And I've had to go so far as going, so, what do you see for tomorrow? Can you see, and usually it's a little bit of a history about yesterday. And so encourage them to make some transition with that. And then, and seeing the goals, that if it feels too far out, then offer some benchmarks. So break those goals down, whatever that goal is. For me, like when I was writing my book, I knew my ultimate goal was to write and publish a book. I accomplished that, but I needed to get benchmarks. And so some of those benchmarks were a chapter, some of those benchmarks were to research certain areas, and each of those different benchmarks that felt more doable and more able to accomplish, rather than eating the whole pie. I only had to take a bite, and then I'm like, okay, I may not be able to publish the book today, but I certainly can research for 2 hours, and I was able to do that.
Yeah, and be sure and ask for accountability text every day when they're releasing. Ask them, did you do your releasing techniques today? Did you accomplish things today? Text and get an answer. And if they don't answer, ask again. Because sometimes people have a real rough time releasing negative emotions and negative things in their lives. So it's a time we really need to assist and help them be accountable.
One thing that I want to add that what I didn't put on here is we actually are releasing emotions all of the time, the average person. Unfortunately, most people are doing it by the words that they say to their partner or the people in their life. They're doing it by the way they drive. They're doing it, these negative, usually we get kind of crunchy and moody. These are ways that show them things, or if we're fatigued, we're weighed down by emotions. If we have recovery that is using food, that's unhealthy food, or binge watching Netflix or something like that, there's stuck emotions. Those are some signs of some stuck emotions.
Yeah, so just really be watchful over your people when they're releasing, because it's so important. It's the best way they can move forward even.
Yeah.
Okay, so next week,
Is there any other questions?
oh, yeah, any other questions?
No.
A lot of information, and you know, we're trying to really get you a lot of good information. If you do have questions, you know, write them down and ask them at the next mentoring session, or text us.
Or text or email.
We can answer you, you know, email us. Next week, we're going to help the mentee to progress personal accountability. So we're going to talk a little bit more. You know, when I read the next week's, I kept thinking, boy, I got to really hammer in the personal accountability. You are not accountable. They need to be accountable for their own lives. And we can't move forward if we don't take that personal accountability. When we blame others, you know, blame the cat, blame the dog, whatever, we need to put blame where blame is. We're responsible for our own progression. And so make sure they take that personal accountability, but do it in a very loving manner. So you don't just scare them away.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me join. I always listen right over here, and I'm always enjoying when Scott is sharing his wisdom with you. So I appreciate you letting me be a part of this tonight. And
so we are meeting next week, but the following week we won't be, because we'll be out of town down in California. So thank you. Do you have another question?
It was wonderful. Thank you both so much.
Oh, you are so welcome, Marcia. Thank you. And God bless each and every... Oh, we need to give you a blessing. Okay, here we go. In the name of the Almighty, I am that I am, and in the name of Jesus Christ and all the ascended masters, and by the power of the great divine director, we give you all a blessing. Thank you for wanting to be mentors. Thank you for wanting to wake the people up. This is so necessary in this time and age, and we need to wake them up and help them see what they're lacking in their lives. Many people that we see on the streets are asleep and not moving forward in their lives, and we are the ones who have come to wake them up and assist them to get them ready for furthering their life and becoming who they're supposed to become. We bless you all that you will have the accountability in looking for others and inviting them. Don't hesitate to say something to them, invite them, because this is why we're here, and this is why we're in this time of change. And know that things are changing for the better, and you are a part of this. Thank you for all you are doing. Thank you for your participation. Thank you from the bottom of the hearts of all the ascended masters, the beings of the elements. We love you, and we seal this blessing upon you in the name of the Almighty I am that I am. So be it, so it is.
thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.